Now at 6, a vehicle collision turns fatal for a pedestrian on 32nd Street in Joplin. Plus, expect some changes to this year's tax season in the form of residential energy credit. And Fort Scott, Kansas braves the cold to celebrate the birthday of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Joplin police are just now releasing information about a crash that happened last week, killing a pedestrian. This is KOAM News at 6. I'm Dow Quick. It happened last Thursday at the intersection of East 32nd Street and South Finley Avenue. Police say a vehicle traveling west on 32nd hit a pedestrian crossing the street. That pedestrian, 59-year-old William Haskett III of Joplin, died of his injuries on Sunday. This marks the second fatal vehicle versus pedestrian crash of the year in Joplin. Dunweg authorities released an update to a stabbing incident at a bus stop last week. Last Thursday, Jasper County deputies responded to an assault call at the bus station in Dunweg. Deputies found an 18-year-old man from Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, with severe injuries to his neck. That man was transported to a local hospital. He has since been released and is recovering. The case is still active, and detectives are asking the public for information. As tax season inches closer, credits for residential energy are available to some filers. KOAM's Amber Jenkins has more.
The federal government is encouraging everyone to improve home energy by offering tax credit. Credit for improving home insulation ranges between $250 to $2,000.
For example, if you're able to take a $2,000 credit for insulating your home, that's $2,000 less in taxes that you'll have to pay in the year. So that can be pretty substantial for some people.
The credit only applies to improvements made during the year that's filed, meaning the work had been done in 2023.
We want to see people renovate their homes to make sure that they're energy efficient, saving energy, but also saving them money not only on their taxes, but their monthly bills.
Bruce Poland is a manager at the Villas at Creekside, a 55 and older community in Pittsburgh. While residents may not reap the benefits of the tax credit, Poland says they appreciate the energy-efficient homes for other reasons.
As hot as we had last summer, the biggest bill that they had was $142 gas and electricity, and that's with the heat. They're very, very well built.
That applies even in the winter.
Throughout the holidays, and I use the gas fireplace, and I bake a lot, and my gas bill was only $84, which is the cheapest gas bill I've ever had. My gas bill in the wintertime used to run around $160.
Reporting in Pittsburgh, Amber Jenkins, KOAM News.
Right now, the IRS says it'll begin accepting 2023 tax returns on January 29th. Bit warmer out there today. Chief Meteorologist Doug Heddy.
Yeah, we got above freezing for the first time since last Thursday, so 6 days ago, which is nice. So we got a nice little snow melt today. 33 in Joplin, 32 in Pittsburgh. Roads looking pretty good. Southerly winds kind of strong today, so that made it feel colder than what it was, but still, it felt like a heat wave out there. We have those south winds, 10 to 15. These are going to stay kind of strong over about the next 6 hours, so that does lower the wind chill factor a bit. It feels like mid-teens for us right now, and these will drop back a little bit later on tonight. All right, some clouds increasing in northern counties. Weak little wave passing by. May get a few flurries later on tonight, but in general, the evening hours look good as we slide back through the 20s. Now, the Arctic air is not gone for good. It will return. We're going to look at that here in just a bit.
See you soon. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday was Monday, of course, but frigid temperatures prevented residents in Fort Scott from celebrating together on that day. So the event was rescheduled to today. KOAM's Anthony Saviello has more.
If you don't learn, you stop growing. So you have to learn and open up and learn new things. And each year I learn how much that Martin Luther King has affected everybody from all walks of life, from all ages too as well.
Kirk Sharp is the executive director at the Gordon Park Museum at the Fort Scott Community College. His role extends beyond the campus and into the community, especially when it means bringing people together to celebrate one of the most influential civil rights leaders in our nation's history.
It's important to help keep that history and legacy alive and the hard work that Martin Luther King sacrificed to help to be the fight for freedom, champion social justice. So we want to honor that day, honor this day with that.
For Kirk, this is not just a day to honor Dr. King, but to make sure his legacy stays intact for the future.
The fight for freedom didn't just come instantly. It was a struggle during the civil rights movement, and Martin Luther King was a key component to that. And so we want to make sure that the lessons learned from the past is not repeated going into the future.
Those who attended were asked to participate in a food drive, engage in a free lunch, and listen to a performance honoring Dr. King, a performance that began with his favorite song. Reporting in Fort Scott, Anthony Saviello, KOAM News.
The college has hosted this event for 12 years. Students at Northeast High School in Arma, Kansas had a surprise celebrity visitor today. The reigning Miss Kansas, Courtney Wages, made a stop at the high school to promote Envision. It's a Wichita-based nonprofit that provides vision rehabilitation services. She also stressed driver safety and leadership.
I hope they take away not only how to be a safe driver, but how to be a good leader. We talk about to be a good leader, you have to be able to listen. It's not always the person that talks the loudest or is the tallest, the biggest that leads. It's someone who is going to ask questions. How can you best service someone and be that leader in your community? And
Courtney Wages was crowned Miss Kansas on June 10th. You're invited to a public meeting next week to discuss a plan to widen Joplin's West 20th Street. That meeting is going to be at Twin Hills Country Club Thursday, January 25th from 4 to 6 p.m. The city is in the preliminary phase of the project that would widen and improve 20th Street west of Schifferdecker Avenue. The city is specifically looking for input from property owners in that area. Later in sports, a big day for local signings. John's going to have details on which area athletes committed to take their games to the next level. But up first, Oklahoma firefighters find themselves in a slithery situation. Running into a burning building, well, that's one thing, but imagine going in to find it packed with venomous snakes. That was the unique situation faced by an Oklahoma fire department yesterday. Brody Myers has that story.
We just saw a ton of black smoke.
Not something people expect to see on a fun snow day with the family. Fitz owns a large piece of property near the scene, and he uses the drone to check on the land and spot some deer. But last night, he got some of the first images of the flames.
My first concern was, well, is it a house or is everybody okay?
According to fire officials, yes, everyone is okay. There were no injuries to the people living at the property, but the snakes were another story.
We've saved quite a few, but there's still a few in there that are pretty venomous.
The fire marshal, Mike Nobles, tells me 2 snakes died in the fire. He described the investigation and negotiating the space with the snakes.
I'm on hands and knees for a lot of it. So not knowing exactly where a couple of the venomous snakes were located in the house at that time made it a little dangerous to be in there.
As soon as I heard poisonous snakes, my first thought was, like, why are we keeping poisonous snakes, right? I mean, snakes are fine and all, but we don't need more poisonous snakes.
We tried to contact the homeowner, but could not confirm their identity. When we visited the site this afternoon, multiple no trespassing signs kept us from knocking on the door. As for Fitz,
but I've never seen a fire that big, that close myself.
He told me he's glad the snakes didn't slither to his home.
The cause of that fire remains under investigation. A little bit later, a big night for college basketball here in the 4 states. John has a preview of a full slate of games coming up in sports.
Plus, it is warmer outside for us today, but some more Arctic air still in the forecast. We're going to look at that coming up. Hey, at least we warmed up some today. Temperatures mid-30s for highs, which is a great improvement compared to what we've seen over the past couple days. Unfortunately, it was windy, so it didn't feel like the mid-30s, but you could definitely tell it was warmer. Nice shot. This is our Cornell Arts and Entertainment Complex. Of course, we're looking, well, here's Joplin, 7th Street. Looking downtown, you can see those flags are still blowing in the breeze, and we're going to see the wind sticking around as we go through the evening hours. All right, let's go outside. It's 34 in Neosho, it's 32 in Carthage, Cassville sitting at 34, 33 in Parsons, 30 Iola, Veneta is sitting at 34, south winds kicking in, still kind of at about 10 to 15 miles per hour. We've had gusts a little bit higher than that, 20, 25 at times. These will start to calm down a little bit late tonight, but still the winds are going to stay up there over the next 6 or 7 hours. So they calm down. It's still going to be breezy tomorrow, but they calm down a little bit. We'll have the wind switching around out of the north during the afternoon, but then they really get cranking again tomorrow night into Friday, and that's going to usher in more Arctic air. That means those wind chill factors will drop. Now, outside right now, the wind chill, even though it's in the mid-30s, it feels like low to mid-20s. Wind chill's not too bad tonight. They drop back near 10. As we go through the daytime hours tomorrow, they get near 30. But check this out. By Friday morning, wind chills are going to be minus 10 to minus 15 once again. So brutally cold, and they stay near zero all day long on Friday. All right, some clouds increasing. We have one wave passing to our north, second wave back across parts of Wyoming and Idaho, and it's that wave that will bring the Arctic air back in. So it's retreated, and it's going to slide back toward the south by the time we get into tomorrow night and also Friday morning. May get a couple random flurries by morning. Partly sunny skies for us tomorrow. We'll stop at noon. Most of us into the mid-30s. Tomorrow night, or tomorrow afternoon, we warm near 40. Northerly winds kick in. Especially our northern counties may get a snow shower or two, or at least a few flurries. And then look at the colder air filtering in all the way down to 8 by Friday morning, and then our high temps Friday afternoon are only right around 18, 19 degrees. Friday night, we drop back all the way near zero. So we still got another bout of the Arctic air that we're going to have to deal with. All right, day planner for you tomorrow, 32 by 11, 37 by 3 p.m. We are going to be tracking a system by Sunday. So Sunday we get it back into the 30s for highs, but Sunday night we drop back mid-20s. We get a storm system in here. We could get around to freezing rain and sleet that sticks around through Monday morning before we go back to rain. So that could cause some issues as we get into early next week, but that's still 5 days away. 39 tomorrow, 19 on Friday, down to 3 Friday night, 21 on Saturday, another cold weekend, 35 Sunday, but 40s, even 50s down the road, which is going to be really nice to see. I don't see any chance really for any Arctic air until we get into February after this next little bout.
Good. If we're going to get Arctic air, why can't we get it like in July?
I know, it'd be like 60, it would feel nice.
Yes, it doesn't happen, but thanks, Doug. Hey, still ahead, Missouri Southern women's basketball goes for its 9th consecutive victory, and 3 local high school football players commit to schools in the MIAA. John Dales has those stories and more up next in sports.
Several of the high school football players the 4 states has seen take the field over the past few years, well, they're all headed to the same conference as our local colleges. Over the past day, 3 seniors have announced their college commitments to MIAA teams. Caden Seamster commits to Washburn. According to his Twitter page, the 3-time All-State Honorable Mention wide receiver had 38 catches for 700 yards and 6 touchdowns receiving in his senior year with Chanute. He also tacked on 2 rushing touchdowns and a passing touchdown, 39 tackles, and an interception. Meanwhile, Tucker Harrell commits to Pittsburgh State. He was a standout at defensive back and quarterback for Colgan. This past season, he helped lead the Panthers to an 11-0 start and an appearance in the state semifinals. According to his Twitter page, Harrell will play safety at PSU. He's a 2-time first-team All-State defensive back. Then, Cade Brown, a high school senior at Parsons, announces he is committing to Central Missouri. He played tight end and linebacker for the Vikings. Brown finished the 2023 season with 100 tackles, 15 tackles for loss, 3 touchdowns and 101 receiving yards, which earned him a first-team All-State selection at linebacker. Over to college basketball, Missouri Southern Women's Hoops is the hottest team in the MIAA right now. Winners of 8 in a row, entering this evening's contest at Washburn. Now that game at halftime, with Southern leading by 16, the Lions led 12-11 after the first quarter. They really turned things around after that. They only allow 1 point from the Ichabod the entire second quarter. They're 20 minutes away from a 9th straight win. At the conclusion of that game, the Lions men's team plays Washburn. Missouri Southern hoping for its second consecutive road win. Last time the Lions played away from home, they took down Pitt State by 7 at John Lance Arena. Tip-off in Topeka scheduled for 7:30. We'll have highlights from both Lions games tonight on KOAM News at 10. Speaking of Pitt State, the Gorillas not too far away from the Lions this evening. They're on the road at Emporia State. The Gorillas women's team at halftime right now, trailing by 9 to Emporia State. Even though the Gorillas are shooting over 45% from the field, they have turned it over 8 times compared to just 2 from the Hornets. PSU hoping to avoid its 3rd loss in the last 4 games, but will need to come back in the second half to do so. Men's game scheduled to begin after that one finishes. The Gorillas men's team has won 2 in a row since losing at home to Southern. In fact, Jeff Boshy's group has won 7 of its last 8 entering tonight. Emporia State, losers of 3 in a row. I'll give you a final score update on both Pitt State games tonight at 9 and 10. Over to high school basketball, the second round of the Tony DeBray Classic tips off at Liberal High School. In the girls bracket, we have a showdown between 2 of our local teams. Colgan Girls Hoops plays Galena. The Lady Panthers have been as dominant as can be this season. They're undefeated with their closest margin of victory being 22 points. The Lady Bulldogs trying to put an end to that perfect season. We'll have the highlights from that one tonight on KOAM News at 10. Yeah, that Colgan girls basketball team, when you're this far into the year and you say the closest you've been to losing was winning by 22 points, that's incredible.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It really is. We'll be right back. Here's a look at what's coming up on KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. We're going to hear from some local plumbers on how they've been dealing with an increase in frozen pipe calls. Plus, the Missouri Department of Conservation releases numbers on the recently ended deer hunting season. And we have tips for parents on how to overcome feelings of so-called mom guilt. Those stories, a lot more. It's coming up tonight. KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. Some kids in Joplin took advantage of this snow day. The weather did warm up enough they could get outside. Landreth Park provided the perfect launch pad for some sledding fun. The good news is, well, remains to be seen whether we're going to have a few more days where we'll be able to get out there and sled around. Short term, at least, though, that thaw is going to continue.
It is back into the 30s for us tomorrow. Unfortunately, we kind of go back into the deep freezer Friday, Saturday, and then we come out of it again on Sunday, and then we stay, at least temperatures pretty seasonable all the way through next week.
Final sports note.
Yeah, I'll keep everybody updated on Missouri Southern women's basketball. It's a team full of a lot of transfers. Yeah, they won the conference last year, but really surprising this far into the year that they're the #1 team in the MIAA.
Yeah, transfers or not. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you right back here for KOAM News at 10. Let's make it a great evening.